I am looking for any help that you could offer to give, for this year, to continue for this year. We have I could use as much as $20,000 to be able to move forward. But we will be selling sponsorships. We're going to work hard to raise some other monies on that. So whatever you feel you would be able to allocate to us, if you do have that, would be very much appreciated. And yes, I am here to make you aware and to educate you on the type of service that we're providing, so that in the future, next year, we will be better prepared to be able to go to you and ask for money, and you'll hopefully be better prepared, by understanding what we're doing and the need for the money. We do still too have to go to our NH the DOT to apply to them again next year to be able to fund this flex route service. They're going to look at it for 1 year. We got a late start. I think the chances of it moving forward for another year are pretty good, but they are also requiring us to go up for the next year. Usually we apply for 2 years in a row, but they said, let's see how your first year goes, and then we'll see from there. And one of the things that they look at is the matching funds. And the money that we get from the county, from the sponsorships, from any other resources that are out there, financial resources that are out there, that goes towards those matching funds for the money that we get from the DOT.
Thank you. Questions of the subcommittee?
Yes.
Please.
I have a question. I didn't catch who you said, but somebody or other provides $5.12 a ride.
That's the Bureau of Elderly and Adult Services. It's $5.74. And that's not for the flex route system. That's on our demand response system.
And so they keep track. Who keeps track of that?
We do. Our office does. We have a software system in place so that every time a trip is scheduled, it's entered into the system, and all of the numbers, as far as the number of rides that we perform, what the age group is of the individual, and all of those are compiled and then invoiced out to the Bureau every month.
Okay. And if I understood when I was at your little talk the other day, this includes from 60 and up?
The door-to-door?
Yeah.
Yes, they're all from 16 up, but the funding for the the door-to-door, the funding that we get to operate that, the only reimbursement that we get is for the 16 up, other than those if they're from TNF or if it's employment security. But the majority of our money from the Bureau is for 60 and up. We've been in the field of transportation for so long that what we've learned to do is coordinate the services. So instead of having the service, which years ago was just for 60 and up, we combine it with young, people that are under 60 also. This way here, it's a much more productive and efficient service. Instead of having one person on, because we're only a 60-plus service, now we can put on 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people and take them the same place and get more for more. It's a much more productive and efficient service.
I could. What is your plan for ridership this year versus dollars that you have available? In other words, if I'm trying to get to, are you planning in the first 6 months to have 10,000 riders, and that will give you this amount of money?
Mm-hmm. You talking about the fixed route system or the
right,
demand?
Because that's what you're asking.
The fixed route system.
Yeah, I'm not. The demand route you said is pretty much.
That's been running, and we're still making adjustments on that because financially that one also still needs adjustments on. We did a projection of the riders how many riders we were looking at. It's on my. We're looking at about 1,300 to 1,400 riders this year, or rides on our system. We are looking in this is for just the 32 weeks, okay? Mm-hmm. We're looking at bringing in for fare box about $10,000, local cash match for Medicaid probably about $5,000.
So,
Yeah. That's only what we're looking at bringing in as far as for the fairs,
Mhm.
okay?
you said 10,000 for,
For the fairs, right.
okay, I better spell that F-A-R-E-S, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so 10,000 for fairs, and then
Mhm.
what was?
Then we're looking at Medicaid transportation for individuals who are on Medicaid, and we're projecting probably $5,000.
Mhm.
And then we're looking at TANF, this is to take people either to work or to training or education. We're looking at $5,000 there also.
Okay, and what are you expecting your operating costs to be?
Excuse me.
For administration, we're looking at about 58,000. And for operating, about 130,000. And then we have preventive maintenance, about 22,000.
And out of that 200,000, how much of that's covered?
Out of the 200 there, okay, let me take you down through what we're looking at for revenues, okay, at this point in time. We're looking at possibility of other grants at 22,000, say 23,000.
Mhm.
We got 22.9 here. Then if we were to get other revenues from the county, which is what we did put in the budget because we were hoping for, we're looking at about 15,000. We're looking at fundraising of about 3,500. Sponsorship of about 5,000. Our federal dollars, we're getting about 125,000, and that's what those other revenues are that I said previously would match this. And there were some federal ARA funds that were in there also, which would amount to about 8,000.
So that was leftover ARA funding. And so if the county gave you nothing, based on your budget, you'd be you'd be roughly $15,000 short.
Mhm.
Now, in this particular, you are not asking any money from the towns except for demand response.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions by the subcommittee?
I just want to clarify, you anticipate giving out 1,500 rides for 32 weeks?
Yes.
That's at present, or what you project, or?
That's what we're projecting. And our projections came from a study that was done several years back when the study was being done for the service. I mean, things have changed since then. We could get more rides, we could get less. We're projecting, we're pretty comfortable with thinking we're going to get about that many.
Yeah, so that goes down about 40 rides per week.
Mhm.
Okay.
So McCarthy, do you have anything at this point?
Pardon?
Do you have any question at this point? If I could come back to your budget, 2 items. The county appropriation that you were hoping to gain, the $15,000, that's a $15,000 hole you're in now with this year's of service, or is your 32 weeks covered at this point?
No, this would be the monies needed for the 32 weeks of operation.
Okay. And I think you already answered, or you already said this, your DOT funding, the Arrow funding that you spoke of, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $133,000. Are we in the first of a 2-year commitment, or did you say to me that was year to year?
We are in the first, it's year to year. For this system, it's going to be year to year. For now. This is the first year. Okay, after it, we'll get funded, we've got the money for this year. It will go until the end of our fiscal year is June 30th. We will apply again for another year of funding for next year. And then from there, normally by that time, things pick up, and then you would be regularly funded as normal for our other services every 2 years.
Historically, with the other systems, and I believe we're the last county to receive any sort of public transit.
I think you are.
Yeah, so historically, though, those startup operations have at least received funding for 2 years, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Thank you. Representative, go ahead. Frank, you have a point? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
now I do. I apologize for being late.
That's okay.
Couldn't be helped. I'm working with the jail committee. $210,000 is what I come up with, 130, 58, and 22. And you mentioned 1,400 writers. What does that come out to per writer?
We're looking at about, when we first started doing this, we were looking at $3 for a rider for a ride. Now we're looking at $5. Because if you write, oh, I'm sorry, say 5, it's actually $2. Each time a person gets on to ride, it costs them $2 unless they would pay the other fares, the other passes.
Yeah, but I'm not looking at what they're paying. What is it costing?
Oh, I see what you're saying. And you know what, I don't have that figure with me.
It seems to me like it's a lot of money. It's 1,400 riders and $210,000.
It does seem like it is a lot, and I have to also say then, we're just starting the system up. So we've got to take a projection. Not everyone is going to hop on board and ride the system on a regular basis. At least not that it's ever been in the past that I've ever known. We started off a system in, I believe it was in '06. And we started it off, I can't remember the number of rides, but it was along these lines, okay? This is our one that was over between Lancaster, Whitefield, and Littleton, Carroll County and Northern Grafton County. We tripled rides within the first year. So it was well ridden, more so than we projected. I can't tell. It seems like there is a lot here, that there's not very many rides for the amount, and I'm in total agreement with that. But you got to start somewhere and then you build on it. So that's where we have to look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Babson?
Thank you. I apologize for being late. Mr. Chairman, could you answer a few questions for me? Could you give us a definition of a ride versus a trip? How do you calculate? You're often talking about riders, you're often talking about trips. How are those figured?
Okay. A rider is a person that gets on, and we do a couple of ways you can do that. You can either count each rider as an individual trip, but let's not do that because it's going to be confusing.
Well, let's talk about how you're going to do it.
How do we do it?
Yes.
We calculate the riders, we call it an unduplicated count. On our demand response system, people call up, we put it in our system, and then we count them each once. When you're riding on...
Excuse me. So if they call up, they get picked up, and they go from here to Memorial.
Yeah.
That's one trip.
Yes,
And they come back, that's another trip.
it is.
But it's two riders or one rider?
It could be the same rider. It's going to be the same
Well,
rider.
Is it one rider or two riders?
It's one, let me try to explain this differently. If I call up my service and I say that I need to go to Memorial, and then I'm going to need a return trip back, that's one rider with two trips.
Okay. That's what
Okay.
I want to know. That's what I want to know.
Okay. On a flex route system, it's really difficult for us to count each rider, a different rider, or what we call it an unduplicated. So say Beverly rode the system today, and then tomorrow I was going to ride the system again, but they don't know who I am. The people who are running the drivers who are running the flex route, nor my office knows who's getting on the flex route system. So I can't tell you exactly how many individuals we've served, but I can tell you
Well,
how
I'm not
many
asking
trips.
that. I think that's fair if they do it today and they do it tomorrow. That,
Okay.
to me, is two riders. It may be the same person, but
Yeah.
it's two riders. And my next question is, I believe you sat here about the first week of